Hello again, and during this video I'm going to be showing you how to add dimensions to this orthographic projection of a DIY lamp. Just to give you some information, this is the acrylic sign, and this is the upper and lower base of the lamp. The upper base is going to be circular, it's going to be a cylinder, and the lower base is going to be a square, but its corners are going to be fillets, okay? So they're going to be rounded corners. Now let's start by adding the dimensions for the base. Let's start with this side first. Now to show how long this line is, first I'm going to be drawing two perpendicular lines to this baseline's edges. Before I draw them, I'm going to first leave a space of about 1 millimeter. Then I'll draw a line of 10 millimeters, which is 1 centimeter. Then I'm going to do the same on the other side, leave a space of 1 millimeter, and then draw a line of 10 millimeters, which is 1 centimeter. Then I'm going to draw a line for the arrows. So I'm going to go a little bit further down than the center of these two lines. Then draw your line parallel with the line you're measuring. You're going to give the measurement to. And then on the edges of this line, you're going to draw filled-in arrows. Make sure that the filled-in arrows are facing away from each other. Now let's write down the measurement. First, let's measure the line, which is 60 millimeters. However, since this orthographic projection is at scale 1:2, so we're going to have to double it to write down the real-life measurement, which is 120 millimeters. Now you could write down millimeters as well onto this orthographic projection, however, you do not have to. You do not have to write down millimeters, as all measurements in Design and Technology are written down in millimeters. Now let's draw the measurement for the other side, but this time on the end view. So once again, leave a space of 1 millimeter and then draw a line of about 10 millimeters. Now let's draw the line for the arrows slightly below the center of these two lines. Make sure that the line is parallel to the baseline. Now let's draw the two filled-in arrows facing away from each other. And let's write down the measurement. The measurement is of 120. You could leave it as 120 by itself, or you could also add the millimeters. However, you don't have to write down the millimeters next to it. Now let's add the dimensions for these two bases. I'm going to use the same method once again. I'm going to leave a space of 1 millimeter, then draw a line of about 10 millimeters, perpendicular to the line that I'm adding the dimension to. Draw the line for the arrows slightly away from the center of the two lines. Now let's draw the two filled-in arrows facing away from each other. Let's measure the thickness, which is of 20 millimeters. Now since this is of scale 1:2, we have to double it. So that is 40 millimeters. You can write down 40 by itself, or you could write it with the millimeters right next to it. Now let's continue. Now I'm going to show you how to draw dimensions which are right next to each other. Same as we did before, first I'm going to leave a space of about 1 millimeter. Then I'm going to draw a line, but this time I'm going to extend it until it reaches the end of the other previous line of the previous dimension. Then you're going to draw the line for the arrows. Draw the inner arrows. Make sure that they are filled in. Now let's write down the measurement. We measured it as 10 millimeters, now we have to double it. And let's move on to adding the dimension for this line right here. Here I'm simply going to repeat the same steps as before. Leave a space of 1 millimeter. Draw a line for the dimension which is parallel to the line we're going to add the measurement to. And make sure that the ends of the lines are equal to each other. They are all on the same sort of imaginary line. Now I'm going to show you how to add a dimension for diameter. So let's draw the dimension for this upper base. First you're going to draw a line in the middle of your circle, which goes through the center of the circle. Then you're going to extend the line further outwards. Once again, you're going to draw those filled in arrows facing away from each other but touching the circumference of the circle. Now the circle is 40 millimeters. Let's double that since this is of scale 1:2. So that's 80 millimeters. And when writing the diameter, please do not forget to write down the symbol which represents diameter. So this is diameter 80 millimeters. Now let's move on to drawing the dimension for radius. Now we're going to mark down the dimension for the radius of these 4 equal fillets. Now I'm going to be showing you 2 methods on how to show radius. The first method involves you drawing a line at an angle, touching the arc. Then you're going to add a horizontal line. Draw your filled-in arrow touching the outside of your arc. And then, to write down the measurement, first you're going to write down the symbol for radius, which is a capital R. Now let's measure the radius of this arc, which is 10 millimeters. Now let's double that since this is of scale 1:2. Now you can simply write R20, or you could also add the millimeters next to the 20. So that is radius 20 millimeters. The second method involves you drawing a line which starts from the center of your fillet. Then you're going to extend the line further outwards. Then you're going to draw your filled-in arrow which touches the arc. And finally, you're going to write down your measurement, which is R radius 20 millimeters. Now I'm going to show you how to draw the dimension for something which is very thin, like this acrylic sign right here. Now to draw the dimension for thickness, you're once again going to leave a space of about 1 millimeter. Draw the dimension line. I'm going to draw it of about 10 millimeters. Do the same on the other side. Then you're going to draw the line for the arrows. And this time, since we have no room, the arrows are going to be drawn outside of these 2 lines, but this time facing each other. Then you're going to write down the measurement up on one of the arrows. I'm going to write it right here. You could leave it like this, however you could also add millimeters right next to the 4. Now the other few dimensions that must be added to this orthographic projection are going to be simply a repetition. First you're going to draw the diameter line for this circle. So let's go ahead and speed right through this step. Finally, I'm going to add the dimension for the length of this acrylic sign. Okay, and that is it, and that is how to add dimensions to your working drawings.